point on investment. Remember, we have the devotion service and we have this bit on financial investment. You're welcome once again. Yeah, last week we treated something on investment, the types of investment, and again we have Elder Kwabena Boamah with us to share and throw more light on what we treated and also go further on it. Elder, you're welcome once again.
Thank you very much, Esther.
And Elder, we wish you can give us a recap for those who went with us last time, so then we can go forward from there.
Okay. So last week we defined what investment is, and then we went on to look at the various types of investments. So we said that investment is time and resources put into something that will give you a benefit over a period of time. It could be one day, it could be hours, or it could be years. That's investment. And then we said that the different types of investment, I generally put them into two, the financial and then the non-financial. The financial one, we're talking about traditional investments like shares, treasury bills, fixed deposits, or bonds. And then we have the non-financial one, which mainly focuses on social investments or education, like giving is also a social form of investment. Spending time with people to develop them is also a form of investment, because these people become better over a period, and who knows, they may come back and be of help to yourself. So that's the two different types of investments. However, last week we also went further to explain all these different kinds of investments, but we didn't talk about shares. So I'll just touch briefly on what shares is. So in this one, we are talking about listed equities or shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, this is part ownership of a company. So companies actually come to the market or the public to raise money. Now, when they do that, they kind of split the company into pieces and then attribute a price to each piece. So if they split the company into, say, 100 pieces, and then they say one piece is 1 cedi, what it means is that if you put 2 cedis, if you give 2 cedis to the company, you get 2 units or 2 shares of the company, and you are a part owner of that company. Anytime the company makes profit at the end of the year, they are able to pay you dividends, which is a part of the profit to you as a shareholder. Now, this is on the Ghana Stock Exchange, where these shares are traded. In other words, if you want to buy or sell, it is done on the Ghana Stock Exchange through different brokers.
So only through the Ghana Stock Exchange?
Yes, only through, yes. And these are listed shares. We have other forms of shares which don't come through the Ghana Stock Exchange.
Okay, that's nice. But I want to find out something. Regularly, people ask these questions about building and then investment returns, so to say. These days, the cost of building materials are going high, and looking at that and weighing the investment returns, and what do you think we should do? Should we go ahead building, or rather do some sort of investment?
Right. So when it comes to building, there are two things. It's either you are building for yourself, or you are building so that you will rent or even sell and make money out of it. If you are building for yourself, I'd say it's a good idea. Go ahead. But if it's a personal one you're doing, you will need to plan and count the cost before you step out to build. Sometimes people rush into this and then they don't think through it well. They go for a 5-bedroom house plan, and then after 5 years, 7 years, sometimes even 10 years, they haven't finished building. The money is locked up. They can't go into the building and they are still paying rent. It just doesn't add up. So when it comes to personal property or building, you need to plan through it. Do what is needful. Like we say it in our local language, so if you need to do a 2-bedroom or even a 1-bedroom house, so you can move in comfortably, that's your first house. Then later you can plan your dream house. Now, if you're building for investment, because your ultimate is to make money out of it, it's important that you ensure that the property can, one, attract people to come and rent, and then also they will pay you money that can recoup or help you recover your investments. I mean, there are times you see a very nice building in a very remote area, and you're wondering who is coming to stay here. So if you decide that you want to build so that you rent it out, one of the first questions you should ask yourself is, who do you want to come and rent your house? Those people, where you are going to build, would they be willing to come there? Then you can also add, these people, do they have families? These type of people you are looking at, do they have families? And therefore, they will rather look for a 2-bedroom house instead of a hall and chamber. If it's for students you are targeting, then of course, it's just a single room. So these questions will help you know what kind of building you should put up. Then again, where you are going to do or put up the property will also determine the value or the amount of rental you will get. A same house in Ashaman, the same house in Tema, the same house in Cantonment, all these will attract different rent just because of the location. So you need to look at that before you make the decision. Then also, when it comes to property, returns or the rental is a function of the cost you put in the building. Now, rent can only go up to a certain level. So it doesn't matter how much you put in the property. If in that area people are renting buildings for 400, maybe you can, the highest you can go is like 500. You won't get 1,000. So how much you put in the property is important, so that you don't end up putting so much and yet you get a little out of the property.
So otherwise, this you also mean that you should also be able to calculate, because you may not even get everything in a year, all your invested wealth or all the costs involved in a year. You should be able to calculate maybe in year 1, I may be able to achieve this amount of my cost, and then year 2 and all of that. You should be able to weigh, all of that before you venture into that. But based on that, it means that there's some risk involved here and there. So I want to find out what is risk and returns and investment. If you can throw more light on that so that we weigh the options properly.
Right. So every investment has risk. Unfortunately, most people look at the returns and they close their eyes or their minds to risk. But risk is very important for us to make an informed decision. Risk is nothing but uncertainty. The level of uncertainty determines how risky it is. And the uncertainty has to do with, will I get my money back? And when will I get my money back? That is the uncertainty. So if you take like treasury bills, which is government of Ghana borrowing from you and paying you back after a period of time, because we know that the government is likely to pay you, even if it doesn't have money, they will print more CDs and pay you. The level of certainty is high, because we are sure it's most likely they will pay. So we tend to say that government of Ghana treasury bills are risk-free. Now, banks can collapse, and we've experienced some not long ago. So what it means is that any money you put in the bank also has a level of risk. Just that risk is lower probably than you giving your money to somebody on the street who says, I'll pay you back in 3 months or 4 months. Yes. So risk is uncertainty around the money or the investment in terms of when you get your return and also how much you will get from it. The return is the benefit you are getting from the investment or where you are putting your money. So in our language, we say that the higher the risk, the higher the return. So if you are also going to make any investment and somebody is promising you a very high return, what should come into your mind is that if the return is high, then the risks are also high. The same way you can enjoy a high return, the same way you can lose the money. So that is risk and return.
Okay, so what I want to find out, looking at risk and return, we want to know the credible institutions in Ghana that are mandated by law to do an investment, so that to some extent, though the higher the risk, it's likely that you may have higher returns, we still want to go a bit credible and be a bit safe. So if you can throw more light on institutions that are mandated by law to do or go about an investment, if you can help us with that.
Right. So when it comes to investments, we have the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Okay.
Yes, that licenses investment management firms, or what we call asset management firms, who are able to take public funds and then invest on their behalf, and they get the returns from it. But then also banks can also take money from you for fixed deposits. Yes. If you want to buy or sell your shares, you go to what we call brokers, and there are quite a number of them on the market. They would walk you through the process, and then they can buy and sell your shares for you. Now, all these institutions are licensed by regulatory bodies. So the asset management firms, who you usually have unit trust or mutual funds, are licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So you should be able to see their license displayed in the office when you go there. Yes, banks are also regulated by the Bank of Ghana, so you should be able to see their notices displayed in their branches anywhere you go to transact with them. These are mandated or regulated institutions. Yes.
Okay, so just like you heard elders say, there are a couple of them around, but you should be sure to get their license from the Bank of Ghana or the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay, so you should be very sure about that before you venture into investing with such companies. So, what I want to find out, recently some institutions collapsed and people have lost their monies. A chunk of people have lost monies from investing here or there, though they may have license from the Securities Exchange Commission or from the Bank of Ghana. How do we go about that? Should we still go ahead with investing with them? And how credible can it be with some of these institutions?
When it comes to the financial crisis we experienced just a couple of years ago, quite a number of lessons have been learned. I mean, from the regulator, from the public, and as well as from the institutions themselves. And I think what we have seen in recent times is a stronger regulatory body now in country. I mean, the central bank, the Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the other regulatory entities have tightened their surveillance, ensuring that these companies that they give licenses to are not just credible, but they are also well managed to be able to continue to be in business. Because when they are in business, that your funds are safe. If they collapse, obviously, then there are problems with your investment. I think the general public needs to be educated, and like what we are doing, it's a very good thing. Once people understand what investment is and can ask the right questions, they reduce the risk of fraud and people deceiving them. Sometimes we are crowded by our own greed, so we want more. Yes, like what happened not long ago. People were getting 3 times, 4 times their money. But the simple question is, what are they doing with the money to generate so much, keep some, and then pay you 4 times what you put in? If we ask ourselves these questions and realize that it doesn't add up, it tells you that there are certain underlying things here which doesn't make sense, and therefore you stay away. So even though they may have their license displayed and they look genuine, we should ask questions. How are they generating returns? For which reason they can give me X amount? What do they do with the money? Who have they invested the money with? We don't ask, but we should ask these questions. And then also we should be able to monitor our investments. Some people put their money in the company and they say roll over 5 years. They haven't even gone there before. There's nothing like roll over 5 years. If it matures, even if you want to roll over, go check your investments and then let them roll over. When the collapse happened, they said we have to validate investment receipts. People don't even have receipts. So how do you prove that you have an investment there? So we equally have a responsibility to ensure that we help ourselves in making the right decisions.
Wow. This bit of our discussion today pricks me and pricks every other person. So I think we should ask more questions. We should find out where our funds are being invested by that institution or not. We should also know how long they can continue giving us that percentage. For how long can they continue with that as well? I think that we should also play our part in ensuring that investment is a blessing indeed to us, not a breakdown at all. I'm sure you've been blessed listening to us today. Today's episode is brought to you by PRWC Michelle Camp once again and from our studios to bring this live. Thank you for joining us today. We have been blessed by Elder. I want to say thank you. And we believe that you join us again next time. So join us also next time as we learn more about investment. God bless you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fellow Ghanaians, I, Rebecca Kufuor, the First Lady of the Republic of Ghana, have observed with great concern the ongoing pandemic of COVID-19 and the confirmation of cases in Ghana. I would like to use this opportunity to re-emphasize the various preventive measures recommended by the Ministry of Health and urge everyone to take care of their health and that of their families by adhering to the following precautionary measures. Regular and thorough washing of hands with soap and running water and use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Avoid shaking hands. Cover the mouth and nose with tissue when coughing or sneezing and dispose of the tissue immediately. Keep a distance of at least 2 meters away from a person with fever, cough, sneezing and difficulty in breathing. It is advisable to be physically active, drink plenty of water, eat healthy, avoid stress and have enough sleep. Stay home if you feel unwell with symptoms of fever, cough and difficulty in breathing, and call the following numbers immediately: 050 949 7700 and 055 843 9868. Thank you.